everybody. Hello.
Hey-o.
It's both of us.
We're here.
We're both here. How you doing, Brian?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm good, man. Hey, pop quiz. What movie did we watch tonight?
Shoot the hostage. No, it was Speed. We watched Speed this week.
Speed, and what an awesome movie this was. I gotta ask, and I was going to ask you this while we were watching it, but I wanted to wait until we got up here. Did you like it?
I loved it.
Awesome. Good.
Love this film. I always want to keep my emotions close to my chest when we're watching these things because I like to surprise you when we get to chatting about it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, this movie was fantastic. This is one of my favorite action films. Disappointingly, I haven't seen this as often as I would have liked, but we'll get into some of those details later. But all in all, one of my favorite action films.
Same here, absolutely. And this came out in 1994, so we're talking 15 years ago.
Yeah, about that.
15 years ago, and for being a movie that came out 15 years ago.
Still holds up.
Still totally holds up.
Yeah.
Totally holds up. And, I think everything was on point, and I know we're going to get into this more in just a bit, but the effects, the sound, and actually kudos to the sound department because, music and sound is my bread and butter. Sound department took home the Oscar for Best Sound. So congratulations to Greg Landecker, Steve Maslow, Bob Beamer, and David McMillan. I don't know what you guys what other movies you guys have worked on, but for Speed, congratulations, you took home the Oscar in 1994, 1995, whenever it was, for Best Sound. And also it took home the Best Effects for Sound Effects Editing. So kudos to the audio department, Stephen Hunter Flick, on sound effects editing. So another reason I love this movie, because my bread and butter took home the 2 Oscars that this movie won.
Yeah.
Which is fitting because the Oscars were on last night.
Yeah, just last night, yeah.
Right.
Dating ourselves, dating our podcast. But 2019 Oscar Awards just happened, and I think the award for sound effects and editing went to Bohemian Rhapsody, if I'm not mistaken.
Ooh, very good.
Yeah.
Very good. I still have yet to watch that, interestingly enough, but I'm going to watch it. I'm committing to watching it tomorrow.
Yeah, you should also watch a lot of the other nominees as well.
Yeah, I want to see the one that looked really good to me was Can You Ever Forgive Me? The one with Melissa McCarthy.
Yes.
Because I was thrilled to see her nominated for an Oscar.
Mm-hmm.
Because she's really come into her own, because she started doing some really silly movies at first, Bridesmaids and Spy and that type of thing.
Yeah.
And now she's getting into things that are showing how versatile of an actress she is.
Yeah, I've always liked her in her comedic roles.
Yeah.
And it's funny. Vince Gilligan of X-Files fame and Breaking Bad fame has always said that the best dramatic actors and that he's worked with have always been comedians first, or always have come from comedic roles first.
Jim Carrey,
Will Ferrell.
Oh wow, yeah.
Yeah. Bryan Cranston.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm really excited to see that film. I saw A Star Is Born, and it is really good. I was surprised at how much I enjoyed it.
I definitely want to see that as well, because and I'm so glad Lady Gaga took home the Oscar for Best Song.
Mm-hmm.
That was incredible. Now, not that I want to get too far off.
Oh yeah, we should have done an Oscar episode.
Hey, maybe it'll go on the to-do list.
Yeah, next year.
Yeah, exactly. So I have to say, I don't know if you noticed this, but did you notice that the number of the bus was 2525?
I did notice that, yes.
And how fast could they not go faster then?
50 miles an hour.
What's 25 plus 25?
25 plus 25. I know it's 50, John.
Did you notice the number of the bus was like a little foreshadowing to
I didn't make that connection now. As many times as I've seen this, I never thought to put that together.
So how many times have you seen this? Because that's probably something we should mention.
Probably, I would say easily half a dozen times.
Okay.
This was a movie that I know you mentioned earlier that you saw this in theaters.
I did.
I didn't see this movie until it was out on TV. It was on like the USA channel or TNT or whatever channel was showing random movies throughout the day during the summer.
Sure.
Yeah. So I caught it a lot on TV.
Okay.
Actually, sitting down and watching it on its own merits, I've probably a handful of times.
Okay.
Also.
Yeah, this is one of those movies. I mean, I've been building kind of a extensive movie collection over the last couple of years. This is one that gets a watch probably 3 to 4 times a year.
Yeah.
This is one that it's one of those movies where if it came on, I would keep it on. If I was channel surfing and Speed was on, I'd leave it on. It's a movie there's certain movies like this one, any of the Back to the Future movies, both of the X-Files movies, any of these movies, if they come on, I can just leave them on and watch them even over and over again.
This is a really good background film. You throw this on, you can do anything around the house. You just have it blaring. If you've seen it a few times, it's one of those movies where you can just listen to it. You don't have to be actively watching it, and I think it's still just as good.
Yeah, and actually, one of the times I actually had to drive, because I used to live in New Jersey, so one of the times I was driving up to Boston, I actually had this movie on my phone playing through the car radio, and I for those safety conscious, 'cause I can hear you guys screaming at your podcast player going, "Why weren't you watching the road?" I was not watching the movie. I was listening to the movie. I was not watching it because I had seen it enough times so I knew what was happening on screen at the time, so I didn't need to be looking at the picture. I was able to listen to it, and it's a great movie to even just listen to.
That is crazy pants. I used to work with a guy at the retail store I used to work at, and where we worked, he lived about an hour away, which wasn't unusual for where we lived.
Yeah.
So he would ride drive an hour to work. It was like 50 minutes, but or rounding up to an hour, whatever.
Yeah.
And this came up in conversation because we were talking about cell phone data plans, and he said that he needed like a huge data plan, and everyone was like, "Steve, why would you need a huge data plan for? Like, are you doing any more than talk and text?" And they're like, "You're in Wi-Fi here at the store all day."
Yeah.
And he went on to say, "Well, I stream movies while I drive," and then we had pretty much the same reaction that you described that people react to you. He would download movies from Netflix, or he would stream them from Netflix or Hulu, and put his phone down on the passenger seat next to him and have it hooked up so the audio would come out of his speaker system.
Yeah.
And he would just listen to movies and TV shows on his way to work.
Yeah.
Not watch them, just listen to them. But with the difference between him and you, though, is that what's strange is he had never seen a lot of these shows or TV shows before.
Interesting.
So he would just listen to like The Path or something, or he would listen to I don't know, just pick a show. He would listen to it on his way to work, and I've never seen it before.
That's interesting, but I mean, in a way, that's kind of cool because then it means he can go back and watch it again, or watch it and listen to it again, and it'd almost be like seeing it for the first time because he'll get the visuals to kind of go along with it. So that's kind of cool.
I never knew that about you. You're the only other person that I've ever met that has done that.
Oh yeah, I mean, because I'm not a huge fan of long car rides, especially if I'm by myself.
Oh,
I recently drove to Galveston to go on a cruise, and I was with a good friend of mine.
Galveston, Texas.
Yes. So we were able to chat along the way and listen. We were listening to music and and enjoying the whole experience and everything. So the time went by pretty quickly. But driving by yourself a long distance definitely sucks. So having a movie like Speed, especially, is something where I think, especially with how good the sound is, you really do get a good sense of what's happening on screen, even without looking at the screen.
Yeah. I recently drove to Baton Rouge, Louisiana.
How long
with
was
my
that drive?
wife? That was about 6-7 hours.
Oh, wow.
And I could talk to my wife all day long. We don't need to be in a car just to talk. I love chatting with her, but we spent pretty much the whole car ride listening to different podcasts.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So, and I find that enjoyable also. Yeah. What? I don't I don't know what you're saying.
I was trying to ask you, can I plug my podcast?
Yeah, plug your podcast.
Okay.
Well, but before we do that, let's get into let's plug that when we plug ours.
Okay. We'll just do a whole bunch of plugging.
Yeah, do a whole bunch of plug. We'll just plug away.
Yeah, we'll just plug away.
Do you want to get into the movie first before?
I would love that.
Yeah.
I would absolutely love that. Okay, so I gotta ask, highlights and lowlights.
Oof. I've got two highlights.
Okay.
And the first one is the music.
Yeah.
The music is one of my highlights. It's
Right on.
It is quintessential action movie music.
Yeah.
I love it. It fits the tone of the film, top to bottom. I love the music. It's awesome.
Yeah.
It's out of all the action movies we've covered that we've seen individually, that we've seen together.
Yeah.
Anyway, Speed's music is my favorite, action movie wise.
Awesome. I'm so glad to hear that because
Hands down.
I completely agree with that. And what I also really like is the scores, like how well it complements the dialogue, for example. Like the one thing that comes to mind specifically is when Dennis Hopper is kind of saying the really kind of throwing the plot into full speed when he goes literally when he says there's a bomb on a bus, and right like perfectly timed, there's like a drum hit, like there's a bomb on a bus. Once the bus goes 50 miles an hour, the bomb is armed, and like it's just so perfectly timed. And I want to say that was part of the score, not a sound effect that was added.
Yeah.
I
love that.
So a lot like there's another movie we did. I'm trying to remember which movie this was, but where the maybe it was Die Hard, actually. I think it was Die Hard, where the score was really nicely tied to the action.
It was Die Hard.
Yeah, because there were times where Bruce Willis is kind of walking around and it's sort of almost quirky and zany a little bit, but still has an action vibe to it. It's the score was mated very well to what was going on screen. And I feel the same about Speed, so I totally agree with you on that.
Yeah. My second highlight, probably as equal, maybe a little less, I guess, is the invincibility of Jack, of Keanu Reeves, the main character, the protagonist, the cop that's trying to hold it all together.
Yep.
I absolutely loved how lucky and how invincible he was.
Yep.
There's a scene near the end where he's riding on top of a subway car.
Yeah.
And the villain is inside the car, realizes he's up there, and just starts spraying bullets in the ceiling.
Yeah.
And Jack just rolls around and just dodges all of them. There's a couple of different spots on the bus where Jack is underneath the bus trying to defuse the bomb. There's him making the daring getaway with the Wildcat Annie on the plank or whatever they used to
the hatch cover.
Yeah, and his captain calls him out on it every time, like Captain Mac or McMahon or whatever.
Yeah.
He's like, "How many lives do you have, Jack?"
Yeah,
loved it. I loved it.
Totally. And so to go along with that, one of my highlights is the casting. I loved who played who.
Casting was amazing.
Dennis Hopper was so fun. Because I was just kind of skimming the trivia really quick on IMDb, and Jan de Bont, who directed this, who actually was the director of photography for, I think, Die Hard or for a few other movies, but Jan de Bont is not known as a director per se. He's more known for like his stuff with photography, which is kind of interesting.
Okay.
But
was he like a director of cinematography or is a director of photography?
No, he was
the DP,
he was the cinematographer.
Okay.
So I'm looking on IMDb. He was DP, director of photography for Lethal Weapon 3, Basic Instinct, Flatliners, Hunt for Red October, Die Hard. Let's see. Ruthless People.
Well,
Jewel
I
of the
haven't heard of
Nile.
that. I've heard of that.
Let's see. I'm just trying to see any kind of big names. Cujo.
Just an embarrassment of riches.
Yeah. So he had tons. I know, and that's not all the one. I'm skipping a whole bunch of them, but he was known for his directorial abilities in the photography. But with this, he was the actual director.
Yeah.
So I think he just nailed it out of the park. But apart from that, the casting was so good. I loved Dennis Hopper, especially because, and this is mentioned in the trivia too, he wanted Dennis Hopper's character to be just kind of like a regular guy that snapped. As opposed to like a sadistic villain.
Okay. Yeah, like a Michael Douglas in Falling Down. He just had a bad day that just took him one step too far to the edge. Right.
And, Dennis Hopper was so, I feel like the chemistry between Dennis Hopper and Keanu Reeves was just so good. There was, and also the chemistry between Keanu Reeves and Sandra Bullock. So just the actors worked so well together. They meshed so well together. I felt like I was just watching, a cop who was helping out some, group of everyday people on a bus. And there was some crazy guy who used to be a cop and now was obsessed with bombs and blowing people up. And, we were looking at what was happening in a day in their lives.
Well, these are extraordinary circumstances, though. Like, Keanu Reeves is a super cop. Like this, I understand what you're saying. I'm stretching my disbelief though, because these are extraordinary circumstances.
Oh yeah, I mean this is in the truest sense an action movie.
Yeah,
a Hollywood action movie. So you have to suspend disbelief because number one, laying on top or having a fight on top of a subway train.
Yeah.
Dodging bullets being shot at you. The bullets being shot through the metal of a subway train. I don't know what caliber that gun was. I haven't done the internet research. Even though, guns interest me, I haven't done the full research to find out what caliber it was. Yeah. Also, I always...
Defusing a bomb underneath of a moving bus.
Right. I always take issue with shooting guns indoors. And having a conversation right afterwards. So shooting a machine gun or a fully automatic weapon inside of a train car and then talking afterwards, I'm sorry, no. But we'll get to that in a minute. But so my highlight here, I loved the casting. The casting was fantastic. How about lowlights?
The one-liners. I hated the one-liners.
Do you have an example?
Pop quiz hot shot.
Oh yeah.
It's fine. I get it. Harry or his partner was giving him that kind of stuff earlier, and I don't know. It just kind of bled into the rest of the movie. Keanu's delivery of a lot of those were very wooden also, and Keanu is notorious for being a very closed off actor emotionally. So. I guess it's just a combination of the cheesy one-liners. I could have done without those, but also Keanu, as he was my highlight also, right. But his awkward delivery of some of the lines.
Yeah.
So that's my only low light. I don't have any other. As ridiculous as some of the movie got. Not a low light for me because I'm strapped in. I'm on board for a train going off the rails and crashing through downtown wherever city that they're in.
L.A. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can totally get behind that. I completely agree. One of my low lights, or I would say probably the only low light worth mentioning, is the fact that that there were other ways they could have resolved these certain issues, but they went the route of what's going to make the best movie or what's going to be the most entertaining to watch.
What do you mean?
So I'm so glad you asked. So on the train towards the end, they so after Keanu kills Dennis Hopper and he goes back into the train car and everything. Why does Keanu not have a handcuff key? Number one, he has the handcuff pouch on his person. He's got it on his belt, but he doesn't have the keys to the handcuffs. That seems kind of ridiculous to me, number one. But number two, yes.
If I can interject here,
Please.
We talked about this earlier, and
Yeah.
I agreed with you.
Yeah.
The handcuff pouch is visible on the back of his pants.
Right.
Right. Think back to the beginning of the movie when he first gets on the bus and that kid freaks out and shoots the bus driver.
Right.
Keanu handcuffs him.
Right.
To the bus, he's handcuffed to the pole, and then later, when everybody's cowering because they're about to jump the freeway, he uncuffs the kid, but he just unlocks the cuff that's on his hand, and doesn't take the cuffs with him.
Right. So we know he has a key.
He had cuffs. Well, what did he do with the key?
Right.
We don't know what he did with the key. Maybe he tossed it aside, or maybe he put it with the rest of his stuff.
Right.
After all of this happened and everybody gets safely off the bus, they're in the ambulance, he gets rid of everything.
Not everything, though, because he still has his handcuff thing on there, and I think he still had, I think it might have been a holster for his firearm.
He had the holster for the firearm, and he had his firearm still. I don't remember where he got the firearm, but he did not have his cuffs because they were left on the bus.
Right.
But where are the keys, though?
Right, but he had a key when he was on the bus. That's the thing. And he was saying to Annie, who Sandra Bullock, that he didn't have a key to take the cuffs off.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't know. Are all handcuffs keyed the same? I don't know.
I would think that they are.
I would think so too. So, like, if Officer Smith handcuffs somebody and then Officer Jones comes later on and Officer Smith is left, Officer Jones can take the cuffs off the suspect. I would assume that's the case.
I would assume that as well.
But what I kind of getting back to what I was saying before, they took the more complicated route to solve things. So on the train specifically, Keanu says, "Well, hey, the track's not finished. I'm going to speed it up." Why couldn't they just cut the power to the train line? Number one. Number two, why couldn't they, like you mentioned, separate the cars? Maybe. They couldn't separate the cars because she was handcuffed to the pole in the first car, so that wouldn't have made a difference. But
she was in the engine of the.
Well, I mean,
she was in the front.
It's an electric train, so I mean, every car is kind of an engine. But if there was some way to get her, if he had a key, he could have taken the handcuffs off. The two of them could have run to the back of the train. He could have figured out a way to separate the cars in the middle, and then coast slowly to safety or whatever. Why didn't they radio ahead to the workers that were building the track there, and they had to run and scramble? They had at least 2 to 3 minutes. They could have given them a head start to get to safety. So there's some things that were just kind of overlooked. Again, it's an action movie. Suspend disbelief. I totally get that. So I'm just I'm throwing these things out there as a why didn't they consider these other things?
Just for the sake of the argument. The radio, Captain Mac or whatever, was on the radio trying to get at the train, and Jack was there in the front of the car trying to talk back, like, I'm here. So they couldn't hear each other. So the captain wasn't sure if Jack was there or not.
That's true.
That's true. Granted, there was no way to radio ahead to the workers. There wasn't really any good way to communicate.
They could. Well, the thing is, he couldn't radio to Jack, but they could have contacted the workers either by their own radio or their cell phone or whatever. There was. I'm sure they had their own way of doing it.
And the e-brake didn't work on this train, so you could speed up, but why can't you slow down?
Why couldn't you just turn the power off? Maybe instead of coasting into this work area at 80 miles an hour, you could have coasted in at 30, in which case or 20 or whatever. And then maybe the train would fall off the track and then maybe hit into a steel beam and maybe have it stop there. But you even mentioned that, kind of, if you don't mind me mentioning this.
No, go ahead.
You were saying how it's kind of a stretch, how long the train car kind of coasts, when it goes off the track and then when it flips on its side and everything like that. I totally agree with that. Like that felt like it was a little much.
I wish we had timed that. It's at this point we're too far gone to even go back but it's fun to think about. But this train, once it went off the tracks, like it
kept
went,
going for like a minute.
easily a minute.
Yeah.
I would say easily a minute.
Yeah.
Maybe someday we'll go back and we'll time this, but
Yeah.
God damn, this shit was ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, it's there.
I loved it though.
Oh, yo, me too. No, me too. I wouldn't have this any other way. But this is one of those things where I could hear my mom, because I would watch movies with her all the time, and when I was a kid, and
Sure.
I've probably mentioned this. She did this thing where she'd go, "Yeah, right. Yeah, right. Okay, yeah, right." Like just completely out of the blue. I almost want to say I remember her specifically saying that for this movie. I could be wrong, but Mom, if you're up there, correct me if I'm wrong. But I could have sworn there was a time when we were watching Speed, and at the very end she's like, "Oh yeah, okay, the train is going a little far. Yeah, right. Okay."
Yeah.
But still, being the great movie that it is, that is completely okay.
Yeah.
I forgive that.
How did you feel about them taking out Jack's partner Harry?
It was a little predictable.
Really?
I think so. I mean, because, well, let me clarify. So I know that, I'd seen the movie a gazillion times, so I knew what was going to happen. But
Sure.
As far as kind of how it happened.
But the choice to take him out, not how it happened, but
Okay. The choice to take him out, I think I could take it or leave it.
still predictable.
I could take it or leave it, to be honest. You know, I think it was kind of a bummer, because
Oh yeah, it's a bummer.
it was a bummer to kill off, Jeff Daniels' character, but, I could see how, again, if we were sort of suspending disbelief and just kind of going with this being what it is, I could see how it could happen, especially if the bomber, booby traps his house and then people go in, the cops break into his house to look around. But wouldn't the cops have had to have gotten a warrant in order to go in there?
You could argue that they had probable cause based off of identifying the bomber and all the circumstances that went into the elevator attack and then the first bus attack, and now you could argue that they had probable cause to get in there.
That makes sense.
Yeah. I could talk about this movie all night long.
Oh, me too.
Yeah. Do you want to get into some numbers?
I would love to. I would love to get into numbers. Now, speaking of numbers, Brian, do you want to kind of explain what the numbers are?
Yeah. Let's.
I could if you want, but I figured I'd throw it to you.
I'm pulling up the website right now.
All right. While you're pulling the website up, we're gonna take a 20-minute break. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, we're gonna have to do some editing in this.
Editing? What's editing? This is Casual Movie Club, where everything's casual. We don't edit anything.
Well, as you know, John and I watch movies and discuss them for your listening pleasure. But in addition to that, we also rate them based off of a rating scale of our choosing. We go through a few categories and we rate the movie based on each category out of 5. 5 stars, 5 points, 5 schmeckles, what have you. The categories are as follows. Acting. How well did the actors convey the story? Did you believe the actors? How good of a job do you feel they did?
Indeed.
The script. How well was the dialogue written? Was it clunky? Was it believable? Next is presentation, editing, and visual effects. Was it too much? Were the effects believable? Were there not enough effects?
Was it copious amounts of green screen?
The next category is music and sound.
I don't think I caught any green screen in Speed.
There
may have been some, but I didn't catch it.
Well, there's definitely some on top of the subway.
Yeah, I could see that, but
see, the thing is, you were so focused on the action, what was happening,
right?
You didn't notice the green screen.
Exactly. Exactly. I that was exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah.
So music and sound, the goodies for your ears.
Yeah. The next category is uniqueness. Has this been done before? So this movie, as it's come out in its current iteration, as it is now, has there been another movie before it that's done this
Right, and
previously?
specifically, I just want to. I'm glad you phrased it that way because I want to talk about this for a second because somebody had mentioned this to me. The uniqueness factor is based on the movie's year of when it came out. So the uniqueness factor doesn't apply to movies that were created after this movie came out.
Yes.
So uniqueness is, has this movie been done prior to or before the movie we're reviewing had come out?
Yeah.
Cool.
And finally, the engagement factor. Does this movie keep you engaged?
Yes, yes, and yes.
Would you rather be doing something else?
I'd rather be downstairs making another drink, actually.
Soon enough, my friend. Soon enough.
Indeed.
So, starting us off, John, how do you feel about the acting in this movie? Do you feel that the actors appropriately conveyed the story?
I definitely do. Now, I'm trying to think of. So, I loved everything about the acting in this. I thought that the casting was spot on. So, you know, the actors chosen to play the parts played them very well. I really have nothing bad to say about the acting. Do I want to call it perfect? I don't know. Part of me just wants to give this movie straight fives across the board with everything, but I know that's not a true representation of what we do here. You know, I need to keep this. I need to preserve the sanctity of
the perfect score.
Exactly. So I'm going to give the acting a 4.5. It was very good. I had nothing bad to say about it. It wasn't perfect, but it was very good.
Sure.
And how do you feel about the acting?
I feel the acting was believable. However, I didn't like a lot of the delivery.
Really?
Mainly from Keanu. There was some Dennis Hopper in there. There's some delivery in there that was a little over the top, a little cheesy for me.
One of my favorite Dennis Hopper deliveries, and this is just a little stupid thing, is right at the end when he's in the subway car and he's about to go up top and he's like, "I'm coming for you, Jack!" Ah! And he just runs out of the subway car. I'm not doing it justice, but that's just one of my most memorable lines. It's just so silly.
Yeah, it's things like that, and yeah. So I'm gonna give the acting a 3.
Are you serious?
Yes, I'm gonna give it a 3. I'm standing firm on that.
That's okay. You're allowed to be wrong. Okay. So, okay. So you're giving it a 3. I don't know why. And I don't agree.
But
that's okay. You just explained why. I know. What do you think about the script? How did you feel about the quality of the writing?
I loved it. Quintessential action movie. I can't say it enough. One of my favorite action movies. Script was phenomenal. I would give it a 4.
Okay.
I really, really enjoyed it.
Okay. I respect that, and I'm going to stay right along with that because, you know, like you said, quintessential action movie. I'm definitely going to take off points for the one-liners and kind of the choppy dialogue in certain places. So
that's kind of where I'm at also.
I'm going to go with the 4. I'm going to kick it up to a 4.25.
Okay.
Just because I think it needs a little more.
Sure.
Presentation. So the editing and visual effects usage, I absolutely loved them. I thought that for an action movie, everything was spot on. And kind of talking about the green screen from before, if there was a green screen, it was barely noticeable, or it was composited in and edited in so well. And I think that might be somewhat akin to Jan de Bont's experience as a director of photography, and then sitting into the director's chair, he might have had more of a technical eye for how the movie was going to look. So maybe that really helped us to shape a much better usage of the effects. So I'm actually going to give the presentation a 4.5.
Yeah, I would say that also speaks to the quality of the script and the acting.
Yeah,
because you're not noticing the green screen or the effects.
Yeah.
They just add to They add to the experience.
Right, and nothing was over the top. Nothing was like gratuitous or over the top or too much. It was like just right.
Well, that's where I would disagree with you.
Okay.
The train car that we've discussed a couple of times already, where it's barreling down the subway tunnel and then out into the street.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what else was over the top. The bus, after all of the passengers were safely taken off,
Yep.
the bus crashing into the jumbo jet and exploding.
Yeah.
So over the top. Like that plane wouldn't have been there.
Fair
Now,
enough.
now I'm saying
It's an action movie.
I
though.
loved it.
It's an action
I
movie,
loved
yeah.
it. It was not out of place.
Yeah.
It was not out of place.
Yeah.
But it was at the top. But
Yeah.
that being said, I don't think anything was too much. I don't think
Yeah.
anything was too much at all.
Yeah.
So for the presentation, the editing and visual effects, I'm gonna give it a 4.
All right. I'll go with that. Music and sound.
Well, yeah, I've said everything that I need to say at the top of this film, at the top of this episode, with my glowing, my glowing recommendation of the soundtrack. So I'm gonna give it a 5.
Yes.
Music and soundtrack as a whole, give it a 5. And I'm also looping in the sound effects in there as well. Everything with the bus, everything with the traffic, all of it. 5.
I'm completely on board with you. You know, I loved Mark Mancina's score. I being the music and being the audio guy that I am, I'm completely behind this. 5 all the way, right here. Perfect score for music and sound. So, and plus they took home 2 Oscars for it. So,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
music and sound, definitely perfect
Round of
score
applause
right there.
for them. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So uniqueness. I'm so excited to talk about uniqueness because I really don't know of a movie that did this.
Really?
I can't think of anything. Can you?
I might be able to think of some things.
You know, because like, what movie talked about putting a bomb on a bus, restricting the bus to a certain speed limit, to a certain speed that the bus had to stay at a certain speed, and, you know, having that bus have to deal with the various sort of traffic-related issues that may come up, whether it's, you know, traffic in the city or trying to find a place to keep running at speed and everything. You know, this is... I mean,
Okay.
the only thing that I'm thinking of, and again, I haven't done any internet research,
Sure.
is there was an episode of The X-Files called Drive. I think it came out in 1990. It might have come out after this. I'd have to look it up, but that is the only thing that comes to mind.
Drive?
Yeah.
Not the Ryan Gosling thing that came out in
No.
2000. Okay.
No, this is an episode of The X-Files on TV, but it was where Bryan Cranston was actually in that one, interestingly enough. But the sort of the main character, other than Mulder, the main character was suffering from some kind of thing where if they slowed down, the pressure on his ear, or on his inner ear, was so intense that it would give him a nasty headache, and the only thing that relieved the pressure was driving, was like moving forward.
Huh.
And that's the only thing I can think of that's somewhat similar, because other than runaway train movies, which this is not a runaway train movie, I can't think of any other movie, unless you have any other ideas. I can't think of any movie that has any similar plot points to this.
Well, I'm not thinking of the bus element of it. I'm thinking of a lone
Or even the elevator
of a lone
stuff.
cop. Yeah, I mean well, I'm just thinking of like a lone cop going in and trying to save hostages, and it's
I mean, we've seen those things before. We've seen that in the Die Hards, and, you know, not so much Lethal Weapon, because that's kind of a buddy cop thing. But we've seen the sort of lone cop situation before. But where have we combined an elevator scene? Like, movies rarely take place in an elevator. So where have we combined an elevator, a bus, and a train?
Well, before this, Pelham 365.
You mean the taking of Pelham 123?
that's the one. And
Yeah, that's people stealing a train.
Sure.
So it's not doesn't relate it to it's not related to having to maintain a certain speed or anything like that. So I mean that's unique in and of itself.
I'm focusing on it as the action movie as a whole rather
Sure.
than the plot points of elevators, buses, and trains.
Yeah.
I mean, you could argue that that really famous film starring Steve Martin and John Candy, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, is pretty similar. Pretty similar.
I don't agree.
I'm joking. It's a joke. It's a joke.
It's a great movie though.
Obviously, a comedy movie.
Great movie. Uniqueness. I'm giving it a 4.75 because I think that this movie is truly unique.
I think it's unique in its plot points in the plot devices, I should say.
Yeah.
I wouldn't call it that wholly unique. I would give it. You said 4.75?
Yeah.
I'd probably give it a 4.
Really?
Yeah, I'd give it a 4.
I kind of want to challenge you on that.
It's a 90s action movie. It's a
90s action movie.
It's a cop saving a solo cop saving the day. Bruce Willis did it a half a dozen times before this, and it's been done half a dozen times after in the 90s.
Sure, but what makes it unique though, and I know I've said this already, but what makes it unique is the elevator scene, the bus, and the train in the same movie. There's no other movie that's done this. Whereas, like, if it was a plane hijacking, a runaway train, or something like that, that's a lot more predictable or a lot more common, that would make this much less unique. But this is a unique movie because no other movie features a scene in an elevator where a bomber is blowing up the elevator cables and is using an elevator as a means to hold people hostage. Like,
well, you're naming the specific plot devices as a way to have this film stand out from other action movies that fall in this genre.
Sure.
And you could make arguments for any film that we've done by calling out its plot points as saying that it's unique, it's never been done before.
Yeah.
The Craft.
Yeah.
For example, it's a teen drama movie where a girl, fish out of water, comes in and she is trying to find her way in a strange place, stranger in a strange land, trying to acclimate herself to her surroundings. But if you just pull out the fact that this is a movie about witchcraft and the girls harassing her throughout town after they don't see eye to eye, like if you're pulling out the plot points of the film and saying that it's a unique film, every film meets that criteria because you're pulling out the specific plot points, the plot devices from that film. So my point, and I'm not taking anything away from you.
I'm standing behind my score.
I'm
completely.
saying that this is. While this is, in my opinion, action perfected, action perfected,
right?
It's very similar to the other 90s and 80s action films that have come before it.
That's fair. I mean, hey, it's casual. We're just chatting. And on that note, engagement factor. So, how engaged were you in this movie?
I think I covered this also. Like it's difficult to be passionate about a movie like this and not cover these points earlier in our conversation.
Yeah.
This is. I mean, I was looking at my phone a few times just because I got notifications and I just needed to check my notifications. Sure. But if I didn't get those, I'd have been watching this movie start to finish.
Yeah, and it wasn't the fault of the movie that
it wasn't the fault of the movie. No. This was very engaging. I would I'd give this a 4.5, 4.5 only because I could get up and walk away. This doesn't fully and totally grab my attention where I can't pause it and get up and walk away and do something else.
Yeah. I'm going to go right there with you. I'm going to agree on the 4.5. You know, it's something that I easily can be pulled into, but because I've seen it so many times, I can also walk away and come back to it and still be completely engrossed in it. So,
Yep.
you know, as a whole, would you recommend this movie?
Absolutely.
Me too. Totally recommend it. And the numbers are in. I liked this movie more than you did.
Oh, really?
Yep. Which is, it's fine. I mean, because we had kind of a big disagreement, or I don't even want to say disagreement. We had kind of varying opinions on like the uniqueness, the presentation, and the acting, especially. So, which I think I'm gonna do a little bit of a take backsies. I'm gonna bump my acting down to 4.25. Just kind of thinking back on what we talked about as far as sort of the dry delivery of some of the lines and everything, I'm going to go back to a 4.5, 4.25 on that. So, do you want to change any of your scores before we make the final things?
I don't think so. Sandra Bullock was awesome. I gotta say, she was great start to finish.
Yeah.
The supporting cops were pretty good. Also, the one guy another guy that kind of stands out to me was I guess Captain McMahon's assistant. Remember when he was in the passenger seat of the truck and he finds out that there was a gap?
Yeah, Norwood.
He just totally freaked out.
Yeah.
Keep it together, Norwood.
Yeah, exactly. But I could easily see that dynamic between two cops. You know, like oh, you're not going to believe this. Oh shit, you know, it's not finished. Oh no, what are we going to do? You know,
Yeah.
like It felt real and natural to me, so I loved that aspect of it. So the numbers are in, and one more time, to any take backsies, you want to change anything? Want to give uniqueness a little bit better, or maybe maybe presentation a little better, acting a little better?
No, I think I'm good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, the numbers are in, and they go a little something like this. Acting 3.63, script 4.13, presentation 4.25, music and sound 5, uniqueness 4.38, engagement factor 4.50 for a grand total of 4.31, seating this in number 3, kicking The Lion King out of the top 3. So it's going to be third place, just below Die Hard, as actually, no, I'm sorry. This is
fourth place. Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Knocking out Interstellar.
I got to learn how to count. Yeah, exactly. So this is knocking Interstellar out of fourth place. So 4.31 as a total average score here. So very, very good movie. Totally, absolutely love it. Totally recommend it. So I had a great time watching this movie this time.
I gotta say that I'm satisfied with where this is. Me
too.
I can't say that this is a better movie than Lion King.
I would agree, and I would say that Die Hard is definitely a better movie.
But then again, Interstellar is such a great movie.
Yeah, but it was long.
That doesn't make it a bad movie. The fact that it's so long.
That's true. All right. So that being said, we do have some business to go over, and by business I mean we'll cover kind of two big things. One thing being sort of, how do you get in touch with us? Because we want to hear from you. We want to know, what movies do you like and that you'd love to hear us cover. We'd love to know what your thoughts are and what we've done so far. Are you enjoying our podcast? Do you have any suggestions, any tips, anything you'd like us to know? We want to hear from you. So by all means, hit us up via email, casualmovieclub@hotmail.com. You can also get us on Twitter and Instagram. Both of them we have at Casual Movie Club as our handle. You can get to our website, casualmovieclub.com, where you can get all of our episodes, as well as see the different podcast platforms that we are on. So places like iTunes, Google Play, TuneIn, Stitcher, YouTube, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. So there's links to those all the way on the bottom of every page of our website. You can also give us a call or shoot us a text message at the following phone number.
402-882-2742. That's 402-882-2742. Leave us a voicemail or shoot us a text. It is not a manned number, so you won't ever talk to us directly. We will take your suggestions seriously, and if you'd like, we might discuss it on the next episode.
Absolutely. So please don't ever hesitate. You can call that number 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You won't wake any of us up or disturb any of us because it's going to go right to a voicemail. But either way, hit us up. We really do want to hear from you. Also, feel free to share our podcast with any of your friends and family if you think they would enjoy what we have. Please let us know. Now, that's sort of first order of business. The second order of business is kind of what we're doing in the future, kind of where we're going from here.
I think we're going to take a little bit of a hiatus, maybe a couple week hiatus.
But it will be much shorter than the hiatus between Tune In Next Week and this podcast.
Yeah, and might even be shorter than well, how long was the break between season 1 and 2 for the movie
3
club?
weeks. I think
3 weeks.
Yeah.
This might be like a 4-week hiatus then.
Yeah. But we've got some really cool things in the works.
Yes, we do. Yeah.
Okay. So we have some things in the works, and we're going to sort of mention these things now and as sort of a little soft reveal, soft opens, quick little preview. But first, we want to mention we do have a Patreon account now. So if you want to help us out by making a little monthly donation to help us keep the podcast alive, help us, pay for our podcasting, hosting and the website and all that good stuff, you can go to patreon.com/Casual Movie Club and you can get to us on there. Right now, we're still working out things like the tiers and all that good stuff, so more of that's going to come. But if you do want to jump in and you can go for as little as $1 a month or anything more than that, we would absolutely love to have you joining us. And we'll be revealing our tiers of the prizes and the sort of perks in the not too distant future, but we do have that set up and open for business. So patreon.com, patreon.com/Casual Movie Club. The other thing we have in the works is merch. We've got merchandise on the way. We have some stuff up there, and we're going to put a link to that on our website because I don't know if we have a direct domain name for that or not. Again, we're still kind of working things out, but we do have these things on the way. So look on Casual Movie Club. We're going to put a blog post up about that pretty soon. And then, there'll be some links in there. We've got merch coming. So, one of them is going to have kind of our podcast logo is going to be on there. There's going to be a few other ones that we're in the process of kind of finalizing designs on and everything. So we've got merch on the way. Patreon's up. And then we're going to take a little hiatus like what Brian was saying. And then we're going to come back with season 3 of the Casual Movie Club. So we are thrilled that you guys are with us here and keep staying with us here. If you want to do your part to help us out. Oh, yes, thank you. And also, if you are looking for something to listen to while Brian just reminded me, while we're on hiatus, I have started a podcast. If you do a search on your favorite podcasting platform, I think I am right now I'm up on I'm on iTunes and Stitcher and TuneIn. So just those 3. iTunes, Stitcher, and TuneIn. Look for I Am John Bamber, and it's a podcast that I record on my phone and just upload it with whatever thoughts I come up with at the time. You can also go to IamJohnBamber.com. That's my blog, which has podcast episodes on there as well. So thanks, Brian, for letting me plug that real quick. But you can check that out and subscribe to it on whichever one you like. I've got 2 episodes up right now. There should be I've got a couple of ideas for a few more. So some more content should be coming while we're on hiatus. I may be throwing an episode or 2 up there. So as far as the next episode of Casual Movie Club,
I have a little project coming up also in the near future. This is going to be a blog that's coming up where my wife Lauren and I will be reviewing the food specials at local strip clubs.
Oh, really?
So
that's awesome.
There will be more details coming in the near future. This is a project that we are just getting off of the ground. But if you like strip clubs, or if you like food specials, or if you like both of those things together, this is the show for you. This might be a blog, this might be a podcast. We're still ironing out the details, but we're definitely working on this. Stay tuned. early 2019.
That's cool, man. Well, I will definitely check that out for sure. You got a subscriber here for sure. So awesome. So now, do we want to pick a movie to come back with, or do we want to leave it open and kind of come back with a surprise?
I like to have something to look forward to.
All right.
You wanna do a rando movie, or do you wanna pick one from one of our many lists that we have?
Well, maybe we'll do a rando. We haven't done a rando in a while, but then again, it might be a good idea to have something really good on the books to come back to.
So we could do a random number from the AFI Top 100 list.
Okay.
For that 2007 list is the most current one.
Yep.
Or we could do something from the IMDb top, whatever.
Okay.
What are you thinking there?
Let's stick with IMDb.
Let's stick with IMDb.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's go to top rated.
All right, let's do the random number generator and see what we get. How is 8? How is number 8?
Number 8. Number 8 is Pulp Fiction.
Let's do that.
Yeah.
I've actually never seen it.
You've never seen Pulp Fiction?
I've never seen it.
Oh my goodness. This is the perfect movie to come back to.
All right. So there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. We are going
What?
I know. We're going to be coming back to you after a little bit of a hiatus. We're going to be coming back with Pulp Fiction and going to be kicking off season 3 of the
Can't wait for
Casual
you to
Movie
see this
Club.
movie.
Oh, I'm excited already. And just to recap, we've got check our website for details on merch, which is coming. And also we have a new Patreon account, patreon.com/Casual Movie Club. More details to come on tiers and everything, but you can start now if you want to support us, even with as little as $1 a month. So we definitely would appreciate it. Also, we're going to be taking a little break, but after that break, we'll be back with you. And until then, anything else you want to say?
Keep it casual, baby.
Yeah, keep it casual. Join the club. Enjoy our previous episodes. All the episodes are up here. We thank you for being with us this far. Share us with your friends and family. We can't wait to see you again. Everybody, join the club. All are welcome. Have a great one.
See ya.